What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is, excuse me, Pose, your review for Pose, season 1, episode 5. Um, Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. So, you guys, this episode was all about mothers, right? It's Mother's Day ball. The theme is mother. So we see at the beginning. Yeah, I know every episode starts with a ball. So this ball was or the category was virgins, people who are walking in their first ball. And so this is where we see Blanca in her first ball, and she got, a little cheap wig, little cheap outfit. She don't have a face together and all of that. And of course she gets red. You know what I mean? It's not Pray Tell. It's another guy because this is 1982. But she's getting red, and Electra's there watching over everything. And it's clear that Blanca knows who Electra is. And the commentator, is saying, do you have a mother? She was like, I don't have a mother or a father. He was like, that is clear because no mother will let you walk looking like this. And I mean, like I said, he tore her down, head to toe, he tore her up. So she got her scores, which were sevens and sixes. They were horrible. But she had the biggest smile on her face. I mean, you could see that she was just happy to be there, right? So at the end, she's outside smoking a cigarette, and she overhears the other girls who walk the same category as her talking about her like a dog. And so she confronts them. She's still Blanca. She confronts them, and she's like, is this what this community is all about? You know what I mean? Like, I thought I thought we were all sisters here, and they were like, you got to be a girl to be a sister. I mean, they're giving her a hard time. Well, Electra, excuse me, comes up and gets them all together. She reads each and every one of them. And Blanca is like, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm sorry that, you had to, what did she say? I'm sorry that someone of your stature had to, come and rescue somebody like me or whatever. She is totally, I think she really truly was just a fan and in awe of Elektra and knew who she was, knew her legendary status. And Elektra was like, I'm surprised you even knew who I was because you came up, because this was clearly your first ball. She's still Elektra. But we see she's not as hard as we know her to be in, the present day episodes. Well, the 1988 episodes. But she takes her to get something to eat. She said, girl, I can't hear nothing you saying over that rumbling stomach. When's the last time you had a meal? So they're eating. And Blanca is just telling her, she's like, look, she said, what's your story? And of course it's the same story. Mama caught you in a dress, kicked you out the house kind of thing. And she said, Electra said, what do you want? She said, I want to be seen. She said, I don't want to be laughed at anymore. I just want to be seen. I want to be respected as a woman. And so Electra says, look, we're going to have to get your look together, but I'm taking you home with me. And she was like, she said, you want to be my mother? She is like totally in shock. And Electra says, I am your mother. So we see how they met. We see how they built their relationship, and, fast forward into present day. Blanca, they spring cleaning, and she giving all the kids a hard time because they being kids, uh, Angel done moved back because she done left the apartment and moved back in, and she threw all her stuff in the closet, act like she was done, and Blanca opened up the closet, all her stuff came falling out, so she's telling them, look, we're gonna clean this house, you got dust over here, Poppy. I told you to clean the living room, and it's dust on the shelves, and Poppy was like, oh, you wanted me to dust the shelves, it's a mother child thing, every Saturday morning type situation. The phone rings. She gets a phone call. Next thing you know, she's crying. She's, hollering. She's got a phone call that her mother died. Her biological mother died. So this is our first glimpse into Blanca's story, right? So we see her go and visit her sister, and her sister calls her by her given name, which is Mateo. And she's like, why didn't you tell me mommy died? And she was like, She said, I sent you my number, at Christmas I sent you my card with my phone number. She told me, well, it must have got lost in the mail. And she was like, look, mommy ain't talk about you. Mommy, was embarrassed by you. She wouldn't want you here. She didn't want me to call you. And, you just need to go on wherever you've been, you need to go back. And Blanca said, no, I'm going to say goodbye to my mother. I'll be at the funeral. And she says, nobody wants you there. And she said, it doesn't matter that she was my mother too. And she said, well, how do I explain to my 10-year-old daughter that her uncle is gay and likes to wear girls' clothes? She said, you just tell her the truth, that I'm her aunt, and that is that. She said, well, how am I going to explain to the family that you're still alive? And Blanca was like, you done told them I'm dead? She said, no, mommy did. So that, you just see where that is, that hurt. Then we fast forward over to, we see Stan. Stan's coming, now Stan's boss missing another meeting. He late, he comes strolling in, and they like, look, Mr. Trump is in the meeting. And he's like, oh shit, let me hurry up and get to the meeting. By the time he gets to the conference room, the meeting's over and everybody's coming out. And he's like, is Mr. Trump still in there? And they were like, no, but he asked about you. Your presence was definitely missed. And Stan comes out. Stan got a raise. And everybody's like, he's the boy wonder. He's got a key to the executive bathroom now. He's doing it. So, the boss is mad. He's upset. He's embarrassed. He's like, how could you... Excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. He's like, how could you do that? And he was like, it's not a big deal. He said it's something that's been in the works for a while. It's not a big deal. But my thing is, if you bring your ass to work and stop snorting coke all the time, you know what was going on in the office. Well, come to find out, now he in his feelings and he mad. And Stan is like, look, I'm sorry. You're my mentor and I love you. I would never do anything to disrespect you. Like, this wasn't personal. Like, I wasn't personally trying to upset you or piss you off. Like, I apologize. And he ain't hearing it. He's like, well, you have, and I'm going to let you know exactly how I roll. You know what I mean? So he about to be on some old fuck shit. So we'll get back to him. Then we see Elektra is in the hospital. She's having her surgery. Now, while she's in the hospital, her children are cutting up. Right? They really staging a coup. They're really trying to let everybody know that they can really survive without Elektra and setting themselves up for a house. And everybody sees what they're doing. They done challenged the house of, is it Montclair? I believe it was. Another big house. They done challenged them and won. They out here walking in all these balls and winning all these trophies without Elektra. And Pray Tell is even like, somebody better let Elektra know she better get her butt out that hospital because her children are cutting up. And Blanca is watching all of it. Blanca's watching the whole thing, right? Well, she goes to visit Elektra in the hospital, and come to find out that no one has been to the hospital to visit her. None of her children have been to the hospital to visit her. And so Blanca goes to visit her and brings her flowers and everything. And she tells, she tells her without telling her. Now, mind you, Elektra already know her children cutting up. She know what's up. But Blanca tells her, she said, you're a mean mother. Like, you're getting what you've put out. They're not coming to visit you, them trying to take over your house. Like, that, you did that by being such a mean person. You really love, but you're hard and you're mean to people. And so they don't have any loyalty to you. And now they have an opportunity to kind of step out of the shadow, and they're going to take it. And so Elektra was like, she was like, you run around here acting like you better than everybody. Elektra was like, because I am. I love Elektra. I love her. And so she said, well, is that the only reason why you came to visit me, just to tell me how horrible of a mother I am? And she was like, no. And then she went on to tell her that her biological mother passed away. And she said, I've had two mothers in my life, and one of them just died. And you see Elektra's whole demeanor sort of softens up. And she says, no matter what has gone down between us, but I would never want anything to happen, and this is how our relationship ended because you were a mother to me. You were hard and cold at times, but you you were a mother, and I know you loved me, and so I came to visit you because basically it was on my heart, it was on my heart to come and see you, and I really want to mend our relationship. And so it seems like they sort of came to like a little bit of a truce, so to speak. But then later on, Electra gets out the hospital, and she took the words to heart because she apologizes to her kids and she feeds them. And, of course, at first they think they're being set up. They're like, what's going on here? And she was like, no. She said, a good friend brought to my attention that I got exactly what I deserved. And you guys didn't come see me in the hospital, and I didn't deserve for you to come see me. And you abandoned me at my most vulnerable time, but I deserved it. And she said, so she bought them some clothes, some nice designer clothes and everything. She said, and we about to let all these bitches know that the House of Abundance is the legendary house. She said, and we're going to start with that old startup House of Evangelista. So I'm like, well, I thought you and Blanca had come to some sort of truce, but now you declaring war on her. And I don't know if it's really out of a nastiness or if it's out of if I destroy her house, she'll come back home. Right? Not sure. So that's that. And then, of course, at the end, she walks in the Mother's Day ball and she stomps that shit down. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Oh, she stomped that shit down. Now, Blanca and her house, they did good. They look good, but honey, Electra, she stomped that shit down. Anyway, so let's get back. So Stan's boss goes to see Stan's wife. Now, mind you, Stan's wife ain't no fool. She ain't no dummy. And like she told him, she said, look, I'm not no naive New Jersey housewife. I'm not here because I have to be. I'm here because I choose to be. And I believe what you're telling me. I just don't trust you. Because when you came through here at Christmas, you hit up on me. So I'm not questioning what you're telling me. I'm questioning your methods and what it is you want from me. Because he told her, your husband is cheating on you. He got himself a girlfriend, and this is her apartment, this is the address, and this is her name. He done followed the guy. He done followed Stan, so he got the address. He knows her name is Angel. And he was like, if you don't believe me, go on and visit her. If you don't believe me, go on over to that apartment. My number's on the back, so you can call me. She said, look, let me explain something to you. Even if I leave Stan, I would never be with you. So if that's what your motive is, it ain't gonna happen. And he was like, well, look, let me tell you something. I could do right by you. You know what I'm saying? He's still pitching his little lines at her. So she goes to the apartment, and remember, Angel moved out, so nobody answers the door. But she comes across the landlord, and she says, look, he said, the woman in that apartment moved out, but her rent is paid up for 3 months, so I haven't taken her name off. Now, mind you, Angel said she wanted a 1 year lease, but the lease was only for. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at this point. But Angel done moved out, and so he said, she's not there anymore. I didn't take her name off the thing because the rent is still paid up in case she decides to come back. So she said, well, whose name is on the lease? And he said, ma'am, I can't give you that information. She said, look, I need to know if my husband's name is on this lease. She said, this is my name and here's my ID. I just need to know if my husband's name is on here. And so he called her into the office. He said, ma'am, are you sure you want to know? Are you really sure you want this information? She said, I need to know. I really need to know. And so he shows her the lease, and she sees her husband, and not only is her husband on the lease, her husband's the only name on the lease. So it's not Angel's apartment. So then she really, it's really ticking like, he paying for her. You know what I mean? Like, not only is all of this going on, he's paying for her. And it's like, oh, shucks. So it's all clicking. It's all clicking. It's all clicking. So, I'm sorry. Something just caught my eye. All right. So there's that. And that's going to come into play also. So then we see Blanca actually goes to her mother's funeral, and Pray Tell is with her, and so are her kids. Like everybody goes, the whole house goes, and she goes up to the casket to say goodbye to her mother, and her brother-in-law. I don't know. If, I can't. I don't know if it's the brother-in-law or the brother. I think it's the brother-in-law though. He tells her, "You need to go. Nobody wants you here." And she said, "I'm saying goodbye to my mother." And he tries. So then he grabs her arm and tries to pull her. Pray Tell walks up on him. Because, Poppy got up. They got up like they was about to do something. Pray Tell was like, I got it. I got it. Pray Tell goes up and he says, kindness is free. Let her say goodbye to her mother and then we'll leave. And he told Blanca, he said, you take as much time as you can, you know. And you see Blanca, she's talking, but it's in her head. She's not actually saying it out loud. But she's talking to her mother and she's saying, I know things didn't end well between us, and I know I said some really nasty things to you, but I loved you, and I know you loved me. And you weren't, you did the best you could with the situation. Like, you didn't know how to handle the situation, and I forgive you. I do, and I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to really make up before this happened. And so it's a good moment. You see her able to say goodbye. So then as they're getting ready to leave out, you hear this woman talking about how bad her wig is and this, that, and the other. Well, honey, Pray Tell. Pray Tell read her about her frizzy perm, and he looked at the other woman because there was another woman standing there. He looked at the other woman like, and you got something to say? He was like, we sitting up here in the church and y'all supposed to be godly women, and this how y'all acting? So the other woman doesn't say anything. But as they're leaving the church, she walks up to Blanca. The other woman walks up to Blanca and she says, we're going to have a reception, basically a repast. Why don't you come over to your mom's place? So Blanca goes, and come to find out it's her aunt, it's her mother's sister. And they actually have a really good conversation, and she's really nice to Blanca. And she says, look, you skinny as a rail. Come in here and get you some food. Take some food home. And the whole time, Blanca, there was a really touching scene with Blanca and Pray Tell. Let me tell you something. Them Blanca and Pray Tell scenes be breaking me down, y'all. I am not a crier. I really am not. But when I tell you Ryan Murphy, y'all be getting me there every week. And if a tear don't fall, it damn near do. You understand what I'm saying? And it's usually those scenes with Pray Tell and Blanca. But they had a really good scene where you see Pray Tell cook one of Blanca's dishes. And, you know, Blanca talks about how that was her and her mother's time together, was in the kitchen. That she said, that was our time. When you have other siblings, you fight for some alone time. But my other siblings weren't really interested in cooking, so that was my time with my mom. And she opened up to Pray Tell about her mom and the good times. Because, it's always easy to remember what was bad. But they talk about the good times, and she cries, and Pray Tell, and that's when Pray Tell convinces her that she needs to go to the funeral. So at the apartment, she's in the kitchen and she's packing up a plate to go, and she sees her mother's recipe book. And so she picks it up. So the brother, again, I'm not clear if it's the brother-in-law or if it's the brother, because they have a brother. But he comes in the kitchen and he says, what are you doing? No, he said, what is that? He said, it's mom. She said, it's mommy's recipes. I'm going to take it. He said, you're not taking anything, put it back. She said, look, I don't want anything. I just want this. I don't want nothing else. I ain't asking for nothing else. But can I just have this? He says no. And the sister comes in and she notices that the sister has on a ring. She said, I can't have a book of recipes, but you already all up in mommy's jewelry. And he was like, well, your mother gave it to her before she died because she was the one here and she was taking care of her and all this other stuff. And so they actually get into a physical altercation. And Blanca just rolls out. She ends up rolling out without taking the food or the book. And so we see her at the apartment talking to, I think it's Ricky. They're making breakfast. And she's teaching him how to make pancakes. He is fucking up the pancake batter. It's all lumpy and thick. And there's a knock at the door, and she opens the door, and it's her sister, and her sister has the recipe book, and her sister says, I lied. Mommy talked about you all the time until the very end, and she missed you. And she said, you and Mommy had this time together. This was your, I know that, this was your time. She said, and I'm not going to use the book, and whoever the brother is, he don't cook. And so, here. So she gives her the recipe book, and she says, what else is she saying? Anyway, they made amends. They made amends. They made amends. And it was a good scene. It was a really touching scene because it gave her some closure. And she invites her in, and she said, she invites the sister in, and the sister's like, no, not today. I was like, she done did all she could do for today. You know what I'm saying? She done did all she could do. And then you see Blanca flipping through the book and remembering the memories that she had with her mom. And then she goes in and she, remembers what ingredient Ricky didn't use in the pancakes. So you see her adding the milk, and it was, again, like I said, y'all be trying to break me down. Y'all ain't gonna do it. Y'all ain't gonna break me down. And so at the end, then you see the ball. Like I said, I already told y'all that Electra and her kids tore that ball up. But what's important in that scene is we see Stan's wife getting all dressed up and getting her makeup and all of that, and she's going out on a night on the town with the girls. Stan is clueless. She planned it. She ain't come home and go off and cuss and fuss. She playing it close to the vest. She didn't say nothing to Stan. Stan think she going into the city to hang out with the girls. He done got her a private car and everything for her to go and have a good time, and so she don't have to worry about drinking and driving and all of that. Well, she goes to Blanca's apartment because she got the address. I'm not sure if the boss gave her the address or if the landlord, but somebody gave her the address to Blanca's apartment. So she gets to Blanca's apartment. They go Poppy in there selling, thinking somebody coming up to buy some drugs or whatever. And, Poppy is like, well, she asked for Angel. And he said, Angel's not here. She went to the ball. He said, I know where she is, I can take you. Or she asked, do you know where she is? He said, well, I know where she is, I can take you. She said, well, I have a private car. Poppy asked somebody, oh, shit. They see me pull up in a limo, boy, they ain't going to know how to act. So she goes to the ball, and she sees the whole scene and the whole ball scene, and she sees Angel. When Angel walks with the house, she sees it. So when it's all over said and done, she walks up on Angel on the street, and she says, hey, she introduces herself. She said, can we talk? I said, oh, shit, it's about to be some shit. And that is where it ended, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, Pose, y'all did it. Y'all brought it to me. Tell a friend, forward it, pass it around, make sure these ratings. They said last week's episode was the highest rating, so it seems like it's picking up steam. It's picking up steam. I think people just needed to find the show. FX isn't a mainstream, network. They had to find the show, but they found it, y'all. They found it, and so we just keep talking about it, keep putting it out there, keep tweeting about it, and all that good stuff to make sure that these ratings come up. Not only so we can get a season 2, but also so that people will continue to learn, because there's a lesson in every episode, and you learn so much in every episode. So anyway. Y'all let me know what y'all think in them comments. If you didn't subscribe, go ahead and hit that button now. And I will talk to y'all later.